So I was reading the opening of the Carrion Archive again this morning, and it opens with this really specific date, 2063.
Right.
And in this 2063, the whole idea of woman with a capital W has basically dissolved. It's not a biological thing, not even a social construct anymore.
It's a design choice.
Exactly, like a browser extension you can just toggle on, or a mood you put on for the afternoon. It's wild.
And that's the central tension right there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You've got this incredibly fluid digital world,
Yeah.
and then you have this heavy physical brick and mortar thing, the Museum of Women.
Which is this desperate attempt to archive something the world thinks it's already moved past.
Mm-hmm.
And the management of this place is, I mean, it's something else. We're not talking about some sleek AI running the show.
No, it's much stranger than that.
The board of directors is literally preserve heads in jars.
Which is just such a perfect image.
Yeah.
And one is labeled Simone de Beauvoir, but the text is very careful to say the DNA is inconclusive.
Right. So it might be her, or it could be, I don't know, a retired accountant from Toulouse.
And that's a whole critique, isn't it? The museum doesn't care if it is her. It just cares that it looks like her. It's about the performance of authority.
There's an Angela Davis jar, too, with the same authenticity is questionable note. You immediately know this isn't a history lesson.
No, it's a simulation, a very dubious one.
And the staff, they're recruited from the University of Nowhere in particular.
I love that line. It's so good. It just skewers the whole idea of bureaucracy.
It's like they're trained in general management of abstract concepts. Just these blank slates meant to impose order on this living chaos.
Which sets up the whole tragedy of the workers, and specifically our narrator, the docent.
Oh, the docent's situation is genuinely unnerving. This idea they call the ghost factor. If you work there too long, you literally start to turn translucent. You fade away.
You become part of the infrastructure. I mean, the text says the docent was hired by an algorithm for having an authoritative voice.
But their body is being erased, consumed by the museum just to keep the exhibits running.
It's institutional erasure made physical.
So let's walk through these exhibits because the layout is just psychologically brutal. First room is Women Who Wanted.
And it's not what you'd expect. No love letters or anything.
No, it's a carousel.
A carousel of biomechanical horses, frozen in expressions of, ecstasy and agony.
Yeah, both at once. And the text is so specific about why it's horses. It talks about dignified subjugation, this idea of immense power, right? Muscular, kinetic power. But it's just harnessed to run in circles.
Which is the core argument of that room.
Yeah.
That female desire was only seen as acceptable if it had a utility, if it moved you towards marriage, motherhood, or martyrdom.
The three men's.
The three men's. If your desire was useful, it was fine.
But if you just wanted something for the sake of wanting, with no productive outcome,
then you're just a horse on a carousel,
Yeah.
spinning forever. The desire is treated as a kind of madness or just wasted energy.
Leak. And then you go into room 2. Women Who Worked. This one felt so claustrophobic.
The assembly line.
An infinite assembly line. But the truly chilling part is the mirrors. They're placed so you can't just observe.
They insert your reflection into the line.
So you're not a spectator, you're suddenly part of it.
You're implicated. And the stations themselves are. They're brutal. The typing station with the blurred fingers and worn-down keys.
And the childbirth station is just a sound loop. All these organic, wet sounds. But the one that really got me was dying.
And it's not about the woman dying, is it?
No. It's about the labor of caregiving for the dying. That final, invisible shift.
It's a critique of how that labor was naturalized.
Yeah.
Framed as something done for love, not for economic value.
Putting it on an assembly line just exposes the raw, mechanical exhaustion of it all. Which brings us to room 3. Women Who Refused. And I'll admit, this one felt like a cop-out at first.
Because it's empty.
It's just an empty white room, white walls, white floor, nothing. I thought, oh, are they just being lazy here?
And I think you're supposed to feel that frustration. The docent explains it, though, that emptiness is the exhibit.
Right, because when a woman refused a role, refused to be silent, she wasn't celebrated.
She was erased. Called mad or criminal or just written out of the record.
So the only way to represent that is with an absence, a void where those stories should be.
Exactly. If you put a statue of a rebel in there,
Yeah.
you're defining what refusal looks like. You're categorizing it. And true refusal is the refusal to be categorized.
That reframes it completely. It makes the silence feel loud.
It does.
But the museum isn't static. We get a new character, the visitor.
Who is a trans woman from this 2063 future, and she's feeling a bit lost.
Yeah, she lives in a world where gender is effortless, a thumbprint away, but she feels like there's no weight to it.
She's seeking a core truth. She wants the capital W womanhood that the museum is advertising.
But what she finds instead is the glitch in room 6.
Women who became the transformation room.
Which has these incredible statues, woman to tree, woman to machine, woman to animal, and then at the end there's woman to everything.
Just exploding into light and data.
And the visitor, she sees the do not touch sign and she touches it.
Of course she does. And what happens next is the real turning point of the whole book.
Yeah.
It's described as temporal displacement.
It's not just a little electric shock.
No. She sees every possible version of her life, her trans life, all at once. The version where she transitioned as a teen, the version where she transitioned at 60, the one where she never did.
The multiverse of the self.
And that's the epiphany. The museum is trying to sell woman as a finished product, a static thing. But she realizes womanhood is never finished.
It's only perpetual becoming.
There's no final destination. You never just arrive.
Which makes the entire museum a fundamental lie. It's trying to cage something that's constantly in motion.
And that realization sparks the rebellion. The docent and the visitor, they decide to act. They go down to the basement.
The archive of rejection. And this is where the writing just sings. It's all the stuff that was too messy for the main galleries.
The curatorial notes are just devastating. Jars of voices. They mention Mary Wollstonecraft, labeled too angry.
A shelf of hands that fought back, labeled too violent.
And then there's the shelf for trans women.
Which is almost empty. Just 3 things.
Hormones, a mirror, and a surgical tool. And the label says, too controversial.
That felt so painfully real. The institution doesn't know what to do with trans history, so it just hides it. It acknowledges it exists, but only as a medical footnote.
It's polite exclusion, so they do the only thing they can.
They loot the place, they steal the angry voice, the violent fist, the bad love, and the trans mirror.
And they take these rejected parts back to the docent's apartment, and they build something.
They build a monster. I love that it's not a better, prettier statue. It's a monster made of wire and fabric and rage.
It's everything the museum tried to suppress.
Yeah.
And then they sneak it back in.
Into room 7, which was perpetually under construction, titled Women Who Refuse to Fit.
And the board's reaction, the heads in jars, is just peak bureaucracy. They don't panic. They don't destroy it.
They hold a meeting to discuss contextualization.
It's hilarious. There's this screaming nightmare creature in their museum, and they're worried about the font of the placard.
They think if they can just label it, they can control it. This is the rage piece. Please observe respectfully from a distance.
But it completely backfires. The monster goes viral. People start adding their own pieces to it.
Yes. Someone draws on surgical scars. Someone else leaves a business card that says, too ambitious. A ballet shoe appears.
It stops being an object and becomes a living collective archive of refusal.
And then it leaves. It doesn't just walk out. The text says it migrates to the empty room.
It fills the void.
And that's when the whole building just wakes up. The architecture itself seems to realize that containment has failed.
The story goes full surrealist here. Vines start growing through the walls. New rooms appear that weren't on the blueprints.
There's one called Women Who Laughed that just materializes in a broom closet.
Implying that joy was another thing the museum couldn't figure out how to archive. It's too unruly.
The exhibit's rebel, too. The carousel horses break free and roam the halls. The assembly line workers just sit down, a permanent strike.
It's a complete system collapse.
Yeah.
And the heads in jars, they vote to dissolve themselves. They get poured into the building's foundation.
They become part of the structure they tried to control.
They literally become the support for this new, wild thing that's growing out of the ruins.
And we get that meta-commentary from the author, right? The spirit, Jay, who's almost certainly Joanna Russ.
Yes, she's like a ghostly chorus. At first, she's furious about the commercialization, the gift shop selling. Nevertheless, she persisted mugs.
But in the end, she's delighted by the collapse. She says the museum's failure is its only possible success.
Because if you can fit a living movement neatly into a museum, that means the movement is dead.
If it fits in the box, it's over.
Exactly. The fact that the building had to tear itself apart proves that the subject is still alive and kicking.
So the museum stops being a building. It becomes, what does the book call it? A condition or a garden.
A wild state. It starts showing up in people's closets and their homes. The line between history and now just dissolves.
It all comes back to the visitor's epiphany that becoming is the only constant. The museum wanted to be a period at the end of a sentence.
But life is a run-on.
Which brings up a pretty big question for, for us, for anyone listening. We all curate our own lives, right? Our social media, our resumes.
We're all running our own little museums of self. And we all have a basement. An archive of rejection.
The parts we think are too messy, too angry, too contradictory for the main gallery.
But what the book argues is that the basement is where the real energy is.
Mm.
If you want to actually be alive, you have to go downstairs and get those rejected parts.
You have to build your monster.
You do. Because the polite, curated version of you, that's just the carousel horse. It looks very nice, but it's bolted to the floor.
The monster is the only part that can actually leave the room.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thought I want to leave everyone with. A little challenge. Imagine you're the architect of your own internal museum.
Okay.
You have your rooms of what I wanted and what I worked for. But what about your room 7? The one for the parts of you that refuse to fit.
The room for the part of you that is too much. Too ambitious, too loud, too weird. What would you put in it?
And, more importantly, would you try to stick a label on it to contextualize it? Or would you just open the door and let it grow vines all over the rest of the house?
Let the horses loose.
The door is always opening. Thanks for diving deep with us into the archives.
Until next time.